What's up, guys? I have another pen video for you today, and today I have what a lot of people and myself would consider a grail pen. I've wanted one of these for a few years now, and I've never really been able to get myself to spend the kind of money on it. Even though, since I've wanted it, I've spent more money on fountain pens than what this actually cost, but, quantity over quality sometimes, I suppose. And without further ado, it is a Nakaya, specifically a Piccolo writer, the writer version being the one with the pocket clip, and I got it in the kuro tamenuri finish, which is the reddish black urushi finish with a 14 karat gold soft medium nib. This just arrived from the mail just like 10 minutes ago. I haven't even opened it yet myself. I just got it, took it out of the box, removed like the invoice and all that personal stuff, right down to the bare bones of the box, and turned on my camera. And I figured I'd make an initial impressions video, as well as sort of like a mini review. I've dealt with enough pens for a long enough period of time where I know kind of what I like in pens, and hopefully what I can bring in this video is some details of, more specifically, like the size of it. There's only so much information that you can really get out of a written review with, specifications and pictures. And there was definitely a lacking in what I wanted in terms of looking for like actual dimensions of the pen and how well it would fit my hand. This, I believe, is the smallest, I don't want to say production, but the smallest of the standard pens that they make, and then up, further up in size, you have stuff like the decapod, and then you have like the portables, the long cigars, the Neo Standard, and the Nakaya, and all that stuff. I ended up getting this size because, well, actually, let me just take it out of the box first before I ramble on too much. There we go. So, Nakayas are known to come in these nice wooden boxes. There we go. It's very light wood, very nice. I'll probably keep the box, although, just because it is a nice box, but it's not like I plan on really storing the pen in here. And then it slips off, and then you have the standard Nakaya pen kimono, as well as a box of 10 platinum black ink cartridges. I don't see a converter. I'm gonna assume that the converter is inside the pen, and here's the pen kimono with the pen inside. I bought this from John Madashaw at nibs.com, and he, obviously with his pens, before he ships them out, he will adjust and tune and make sure that the pens are functional. I've never actually bought a pen from him, so this will be the first time that I actually get examples of his nib work directly. Well, not like directly where I see him at a show or anything, but pens that I've written with previously have been owned by other people, that he did nib work on have been owned by other people, so you never know like what the person who's owned the pen has done to it. So this will be, hopefully a better example of his nib work, since I got it directly from him. And because he does nib work before the pens go out and the nib units go out, I assume that the converter is probably still in the pen. So here it is. I'll leave this kimono off to the side. So here's the pen. Beautiful. I really like Japanese lacquerware, like urushi stuff. It's not common that you find like real urushi anymore, just because it's kind of expensive. It is labor intensive, and the material itself is expensive. So if you go to like Japanese restaurants and stuff, they'll have lacquerware, plates and bowls and everything, but it's not actually urushi lacquer. But so far, first impressions of this pen, I really like it. I really like the size. So the reason why I got this particular model is because of the size. Like I said, this is the smallest model they make as a standard production run, I guess. And at first I was gonna potentially get the Neo Standard, or maybe even like the portable. But when I looked at the dimensions of it, and when I looked at photos of it, I saw that it was actually closed length longer than an M800. I personally like to use my pens. I don't like to necessarily have to use them with a case. Granted, the Sean Newton custom pen that I got I got that clipless, and the whole idea is that would be a desk pen. So I don't need too many desk pens where I can't just clip to my pocket readily and bring the pen with me to use. And I don't want to always have to necessarily have to use a pen case, because there are times where I won't have a bag with me, and the only thing I'll have is like a shirt pocket, and I want to be able to clip my pens to the said shirt pockets. And I found that, at least with my shirts, they don't have the longest pockets. So even pens like the M600, which I consider a really great size, like just right in between where it's not too small to use for a long period of time, but at the same time it's not too large to carry easily. Recently I've been using the M800, and it is a little big. The pen kind of sits sideways in like the breast pocket of the shirt, and it sits a little awkwardly, but I've dealt with it. And for like the Neo Standard and the portable pen, for them to be like a little longer, I think almost a centimeter longer than the M800, I just couldn't get myself to buy that pen, because I figured if I bought it, I wouldn't be able to carry it, and if I can't carry it, I'll probably end up not using it. It's one of the biggest reasons why I don't use my M1000. It's just too big and too long to fit in my pockets properly. So that's why I decided to go with this model. One of the big concerns that I had was that it would be too short, and I mean, so far from what I can tell, this finish is so nice. It's so smooth, and I really love how, the areas where the lacquer is thinner, you get that red popping out. You see here at the finial, at the cap and barrel lips, and as well as at the end points here. Presumably, as this finish wears in, you have like the idea of the Japanese have of like wabi-sabi, where things just naturally wear in and there's a beauty in it, which I definitely agree with. And I think the idea is eventually more of that reddish underlayer of urushi will start popping out more as the finish wears on. So far, yep, it's definitely a short pen. I have several of my smallest pens to the side here, and I'll do some comparisons. But from what I can tell, I hold my pens two ways. Normally I hold it in a very relaxed state like this, and this pen is just long enough. You can see here that it's just resting in between my thumb and my index finger. I have like small to medium sized hands. My fingers aren't really long, they're just, my palms are pretty big. And this, for me, I could use unposted. Nakaya doesn't recommend you post these pens. The balance is actually quite nice. It's very neutral balance, not too forward or heavy, back heavy. And I would imagine that posting it probably isn't the best for the finish itself. I could definitely see that it doesn't really post on really tightly unless you push it on. So they didn't design this to post, which is fine. So far it seems like it works out well. So sometimes I hold it in a very relaxed grip like this. There are other times where I grip it higher, like I pinch it, I curl up my fingers more. And at that point, sometimes I'll just hold it a little higher. So it's definitely long enough for me. Although if you have long fingers, you might have to go with the longer pens. So let me close this back up. So I have a bunch of pens next to me that I'm just gonna lay out on a table. Hopefully more common pens that people may be more familiar with. So here I have a Kaweco Sport, a Pelikan M200, trying to kind of line them up. This is a Pelikan 100N, which is my smallest Pelikan. I believe it's basically very similar in length to the new release of the Pelikan M101Ns. I have a TWSBI Mini, and I have my standard go-to reference, the M600, and an M800. So you can see that in overall like clip length, it's not that much shorter than the 600 and the 800, and clipped, not clipped, closed, capped, it's definitely longer than the other four. But the thing is that it is a little deceiving, because when you have it screwed in all the way, you can see that there's a good amount of cap that sticks out beyond the nib. So more importantly, I guess, because you can't post this pen, let's see how it compares to these pens uncapped. So go through the hassle of uncapping all these pens. I actually figured from my measurements that it was closest in size to the TWSBI Mini. And I don't find that I'd like using the TWSBI Mini without posting, because one of the length, and I could definitely see that the body is really a little shorter, and I guess that extra body length definitely helps out a lot. And two, I also found that the pen overall was just a little too thin, and I can already tell that the Piccolo has a much fatter body at the section and along the barrel length. So that's definitely a good thing. So let me just do a one-by-one comparison against all the pens. Clearly, the Kaweco Sport, you can see it's a lot shorter. Basically, the section and barrel length encompasses almost the entire length of this. Kaweco Sports, in a pinch, I could use without posting, but obviously you can see if I hold in a more relaxed grip, it's basically falling out. So I always have to post these when I do use them. Next is the 200, which usually is my go-to pen if I need a short pen to carry in my pen pocket. And you can see that it's just a little shorter. There's like a few millimeters between the tips of the nibs. Like I said, this is my standard. I generally don't post M200s or 205s in this case unless I need just somewhere to put the cap. But I could definitely feel that the Nakaya, the Piccolo, is a lot more comfortable to use just because, like I said, compared to with the Swiss Mini, it's a lot thicker. So when it's a lot thicker, it feels like the thickness of like a good size pen. It actually feels like the thickness of maybe an M1000 or even like compared to like the 800. Section wise, I think it's very similar to the 800 in thickness, but towards the body here, you see it gets a lot fatter, which is nice. Thickness definitely, I feel, versus length is what really makes a pen really comfortable to hold and use for an extended period of time. Next here is the 100N, and you can see basically they're almost the same length. It's not gonna focus. Yeah, you can see like tips basically match up and the bottoms basically match up. This is a very slender pen, very much similar in size to the 200 in thickness. So I'm definitely glad, and I've used this unposted as well, although not for a long period of time yet. So like what I originally thought it would be very similar to is the TWSBI Mini, and I'm happy to find out that the TWSBI Mini is actually a little shorter than the Piccolo, which means that hopefully I'll have no issues using this for a longer period of time. And then we have a 600. So you can see the 600 is a little bit longer. Maybe actually almost like a centimeter longer, but 600 and I have no problems with the thickness. Using an extended period of time, perfectly comfortable. But this is also slightly thicker. And finally the 800, not exactly the fairest of comparisons, but you can see that it is quite longer. And this, I don't know, I may actually find that the Piccolo will be more comfortable to use for a long period of time, because one of the big things I never liked about the 800, when I was looking into buying my first Pelican, I was trying to decide between the 400, 600, and 800. And one of the things I didn't like about the 800 was that it was really back heavy because of the metal piston housing mechanism. And I've gotten used to it. I've been using this. This has been my main pen for since I got it actually, and it's been fine. But definitely, like if I have a relaxed grip like this, it's not a big deal because most of the weight is right here at the webbing of my palm, but when I do pinch it up a lot more, I do feel it's kind of back heavy. So let me cap the rest of these pens up. Oh boy. So hopefully you guys find that useful. Like I said, if you feel like you have to post with the TWSBI Mini, and you definitely just can't write with it unposted, then the Piccolo probably won't work for you. And I figured this is probably the most inexpensive pen that a lot of people have a lot of experience with, just because TWSBI Minis, TWSBIs in general aren't that expensive. This has been really nice. Haven't done a video on this, but yeah, I don't think I'll do a video on it, but I don't necessarily do videos on every pen I buy, but it's definitely a nice pen and kind of makes me want to get into vintage Pelicans more. So actually, let me compare it with the Kaweco Sport posted, because this is an extraordinarily affordable pen. I think they're like $20, $25. And when it's posted, you can see that obviously the Sport is longer. It's actually almost the same length as an 800. Yeah, you can see posted is actually longer than an M800. but because of how thin and like the body is and the section especially, it's, you know, it's okay. It's not uncomfortable to use, but I don't know. These aren't really my favorite pens in the world. I find having to constantly post them kind of annoying. At least it's better than that because that's friction posted. This TWSBI Mini, you have to screw the cap on to really post well, and I find that super annoying. One day I may actually just grind out the threads so I could just friction post straight onto the pen. But we'll see. I actually don't use the TWSBI Mini all that much. So let me move these pens out of the way. And like I said, Nakaya's are cartridge converter fill, and it comes with this standard platinum converter, as you can see here. You know, it's a proprietary connection. So if you want to use, I believe they make an international converter, an international cartridge adapter where you can plug into here. It's just a small piece that plugs into here, and then you can plug a standard cartridge into. Short cartridges, I don't think long cartridges will fit, depending on the pen. Like obviously in this case, you won't be able to use long cartridges in it, especially with the adapter, I don't think. Haven't tried it yet, so I can't be too sure. But man, this pen is just, I have to take a look at it up close myself. I apologize. It is really nice. The fit and finish, from what I can tell, just without any assistance from like a loop or anything, is phenomenal. The threads are they're a little gritty. They're not super smooth, but it's fine, you know, it's not a big deal. I don't have my loop handy to take a look at the nib. Presumably, John Modishaw has tuned it, although from the naked eye, I can definitely tell that one of the tines is misaligned, which kind of unfortunate if you ask me. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Let me see if I can get it to focus. Oh, almost. I can feel it with my finger, like when I run my finger prints along the bottom of the nib, I can feel that going across here it doesn't really catch, but going across here I can feel inner tines, which means that this left tine here is actually lower against the feet or higher up in terms of the screen. So I don't know. I've bought one pen. Actually, the first M1000 I bought, the claim by the original owner was that it was tuned by John Modishaw, but like I said, and it was not good work. I have pictures up on my Instagram from way back when I got it, and I was not happy with it, and I definitely returned the pen. It wasn't in the condition that the seller said it was, and I don't mind like a little bit of the plating ring here being like chipped or anything, but the nib was in not good condition, and it's not something that I could have fixed easily, and it definitely wasn't worth the price. Although it did make me like the M1000 enough to just buy one brand new. So I don't know. I'm always iffy about when people who sell pens say that they tune and adjust all their nibs and stuff. It could just be my standards are really high, and I'm very picky about it. There's like some politics involved in like critiquing the work of like well-known nibmeisters that I don't really like getting into. But it's nothing that I can't fix myself. Not so fortunate for other people. The cap, same nice quality. You could definitely see that where right here, there's kind of like an unevenness in the lacquer. You see like right there, you can see more red, and then as you go, it basically kind of disappears. Kind of wish that was a little better, but I mean, like I said, with wear, eventually it'll work itself out, I guess. Yeah, the lacquer is a little uneven there, but for a handmade product, I can't complain too much. And you can definitely feel that it's not, the finial isn't super flush with the cap. Like when I run my finger across it, I could feel there's like a little underbite there, right, just towards the back here where actually it's unfinished. So maybe it wasn't like sanded down properly. I don't know. Anyway, let's try inking it up and see how it writes. Although, like I said, I can already feel that the tines are a little misaligned. So here I have a bottle of Acraman ink, Shocking Blue. I don't remember the number of it, but oh, come on, there we go. I like it. It's a big bottle of ink. I've used it a lot, so I know how it reacts. I'll be able to judge. So with Modishaw, you can okay, well, that's the rubber stopper stuck onto the I'll admit I haven't used this ink bottle in a while. I've actually decanted to a smaller bottle that I bring with me to work when I do use this ink. So like I said, you can get the pens adjusted, and you can request for how the flow is and like writing pressure and all of that. Basically for me, I got it to write with light to medium pressure, and I got the flow from medium to heavy. I know people post number scales, but there wasn't exactly a number scale on John's website. Okay, so okay, did not get it deep enough. I don't think I have enough. Hang on. There we go. I'm not gonna put a full fill on it because I'm probably gonna have to adjust the nib, so don't want to waste too much of this ink. And I need another paper towel. Let me just move this off to the side so I don't spill everything. Whoops. Let's try not to touch the inky surface. Probably not even in frame of the camera. I stopped doing writing samples and stuff in my videos, but I figured this kind of warranted it because it was also kind of an overview of how the pen would write from the factory. And because it is an initial impressions video, I haven't had time to work on the pen myself. So, there we go. I don't know if you can hear that. The threads definitely aren't the smoothest in the world, but not terrible. And I imagine that over time it'll probably wear in a little bit. I am cheating a little bit with Rhodia. I don't like using Rhodia as a test paper because it is a very smooth paper. It's like if you use Clairefontaine, it's super smooth. And then it's not fair to judge how the pen will write with other, like on other mediums. But let's see if it'll write. Well, so people always say that Japanese pens write a lot finer line. Like I said, I got a soft medium. This definitely writes kind of like a fine, or even maybe like an extra fine to a fine. For like Western standards, and especially with Pelikan. Yeah, Pelikan extra fines probably don't even write this fine, so I'm glad I didn't get any finer. There is some feedback, which I know people say like platinum pens are known for. It's not terrible. I think that it's definitely worse. Like if you probably hear it as I go side to side. See, so like when I go from left to right, you could hear that the tine probably scratches against the paper, versus right to left, not as noticeable. And then downstroke, basically really can't hear much. So the downstroke feedback I can deal with. The side stroke I can't. I think the finish on it is fine. I'll just have to realign the tines and it'll be fine. It definitely looks pretty wet. Let's see. Yep, it's a nice wetness. It's just where I like it. It's hard to tell because it is a much finer pen, like finer nib than what I've been used to writing with, but you know, it works. And there is, like I said, it's a soft medium, so there is a bit of give. As you can see, you can make it write just a little thicker, which I don't plan on trying to flex this much. I don't really believe in flexing most pens. But, you know, it's nice to have like that nice cushiony bounce as you write, similar to like pilot nibs where you don't really get line variation when you use a little pressure, but there's like a nice bounciness to it that I do like. I don't know. You know what? Honestly, I would probably get a wider nib. Maybe I would actually go with the broad nib. It's not terrible. It's kind of like the thick, like nib thickness that I used to write with, and definitely if I align the tines, I'm sure it'll write a lot better. In terms of the length comfort, I don't know, it's a little awkward now. I'm not sitting at like a normal writing height that I'm used to. This table's actually quite low, and I'm actually trying to write behind a tripod, so it's a little awkward. I don't think it'll be uncomfortable. The lacquer finish definitely is a little grippy. I can definitely feel it like rubbing up against the web of my palm, and it's not moving versus, say, you know, it's like the standard plastic on Pelicans. You know, as I'm writing, I do finger write a little bit, and it definitely glides along the webbing a lot easier than this urushi finish does. But it is beautiful to look at, and it feels amazing. So I have no regrets getting it so far. Yeah, I don't know. This video is running kind of long. Like I said, it's not cheap. And I know it's a grail pen for a lot of people. I would definitely recommend that if you have like medium to large hands, get the bigger versions. The Piccolo is just kind of too small for most people to be comfortable with. I just can't write like this. I apologize. Oh, and it doesn't want to write again. Yeah, this writing angle is weird. Anyway, I'm getting the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I may do a follow-up video in the future about like a full review. I may not. I don't know. We'll see. If my thoughts have really changed at all, like so far, I really like the pen. Let me get that out of the way. I do like the pen. I don't think the size will be an issue. I think it'll be fine. I'm not like a novel writer. I can also see the clip is a little off center. Anyway, being a little too nitpicky. You know, for the money, it is a handmade product, so you're gonna have some, I don't want to say fit and finish issues, like it's like some finishing issues, but overall I can understand why a lot of people say that it is their grail pen. Nakaya also makes some of the more affordable urushi lacquered pens versus, you know, like I know Pilot and even Platinum has production urushi pens, but they're a lot more money, so I don't know. It's hard to judge because it is a lot of money, but it is a really nice pen. If you happen to like lacquerware, anyway. It's definitely not as much of a status symbol unless you're dealing with other fountain pen nerds, because, you know, this is not exactly recognizable as a fancy, you know, expensive brand, I guess, versus something like Mont Blanc, where even then I think like a lot of people still don't really know what Mont Blanc is, but it's still more readily known than something like Nakaya. Yeah, anyway, love the pen. I'm gonna be carrying it for the foreseeable future as probably my main pen. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it useful. Not so much this. Like I said, I don't believe in writing samples. I know people comment about why I don't do them. The reason is I don't feel that tells you much. You're not, like, writing is a feel thing. It's like a sensory thing, and you can't feel it through video. And I adjust all my pens, or most of the pens that I use to write with on a regular basis, so it's not fair because it's not what you're going to get from the factory. But hopefully at least mainly the length thing I hope you guys found useful, because that's definitely something that I wish that more pen reviewers would consider when they do their videos. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys.